Hello and welcome to another edition of National Focus. I'm Fontaine. Thank you for joining us. Coming up, government sees geothermal energy as an engine for economic growth. National Anti-Doping Seminar held to build awareness to eliminate doping in sport, and work is ongoing on the construction of a retaining wall in Campbell. Stay with us for details of these stories and others after the break.
Hey, I had a good time in town last week with a pretty girl, man.
Hey, carry me next time when you're going now.
Where we get paid Friday, we gonna go.
Careful, they might catch AIDS.
AIDS? Them girl pretty. Them girl can't get AIDS, man.
I think it's only ugly women have AIDS. Anybody could get it. If you get sick, what you can tell your wife?
Hey, your wife, come in.
Hey, change the topic. Change the topic.
Your family depends on you. Don't take home AIDS.
Do you have uncovered water storage drums around your home? Do you dispose of old tires, cans and old containers capable of holding water anywhere in your environment? Are you being bitten by mosquitoes, particularly at dusk and early morning? Do you keep houseplants in water? Do you spend your hard-earned cash to control mosquitoes? Has your community experienced dengue fever outbreaks? If your answer is yes to at least 3 questions above, you are at risk to dengue fever. Join the fight against dengue fever. The responsibility for a dengue-free Dominica lies with you. So, get rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
The facts as they are, brought to you every day. Only on GIS Channel 7.
Welcome back. Based on the Finance Minister's 2013-2014 budget address, his government is confident that the pursuit and development of geothermal energy can power economic growth for the island. According to Prime Minister Honourable Roosevelt Skerrit, who is also Minister for Finance, the cost of energy affects the quality of life of residents as well as the competitiveness of businesses in Dominica. The Prime Minister explained that development of electricity from geothermal energy in the Roseau Valley will eliminate the fuel surcharge in consumers' electricity bill, which can increase costs by up to 45%. So far, the Roosevelt Skerrit-led government has invested $30.5 million for test drilling, and work is expected to commence on the drilling of a production and re-injection well at a cost of $36.7 million. Government believes that the geothermal resource of the Roseau Valley has the potential to generate in excess of 120 megawatts of electricity. In July, the Finance Minister announced to Parliament that the Agence Française de Développement, AFD, has offered to provide full financing for the construction of a 15-megawatt power plant, which will supply electricity to the local market. Referring to the plant's ownership, the Prime Minister revealed that the government and people of Dominica will own between 80 and 90% of the plant. Between 10 and 20% ownership will be offered to a group comprising of French and other investors with interest in developing a larger power plant over 100 megawatts. This power plant would supply energy to Guadeloupe and Martinique. The next phase in bringing geothermal energy development to fruition in Dominica is to determine the amount of land that will be necessary to successfully build and operate both geothermal plants. Residents have been assured that the property rights of landowners in the selected communities will be respected. Those occupying lands legitimately but with no title to the property will be assisted in obtaining titles so as to facilitate transactions. The Prime Minister said, quote, "Government regards the people in possession of the lands in the resource area as key stakeholders. As such, government will intensify the dissemination of information on all aspects of the development and will seek their participation and involvement in its planning as the project progresses." End of quote. The expected completion date of the power plant is 2015. The National Anti-Doping Organization Incorporated of Dominica, with the support of the Regional Anti-Doping Organization, RADO, the Dominica Olympic Committee and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, has organized a seminar to build awareness on doping in sports. The seminar was held on Monday under the theme Building Awareness and Advocacy to Eliminate Doping in Sport. At the opening ceremony, Honorable Justina Charles, Minister for Sports, calls the seminar timely in light of recent high-profile cases of doping in sports. She pledged the financial commitment and full support of the Government of Dominica in promoting awareness.
The Government of Dominica is committed towards the fight. This workshop and Dominica's NADO are testimony of our commitment. The establishment of the Dominica NADO came into being because of the commitment of the government and the Dominica Olympics Committee to being part of the Caribbean Regional Anti-Doping Organization, RADO. This commitment includes, among others, being compliant with the Anti-Doping Code, which also included the establishment of a national anti-doping organization, ensuring that NADO and RADO work together to conduct the most effective anti-doping programs within the country. This includes both testing and education initiatives.
The National Anti-Doping Organization in Dominica works with the Regional Anti-Doping Organization, RADO, to achieve its goals in the fight against doping in sport. Felix Wilson, president of the Dominica Olympic Committee, speaks of expectations of this seminar.
The objectives to be achieved by this project to educate through training, workshops and seminars with athletes, coaches, sports officials and administrators on anti-doping and substance abuse in the fight against doping in sport. To engage stakeholders in supporting the activities of NADO Inc., to provide participants in workshops and seminars with necessary skills and information on anti-doping code and rules and the UNESCO Convention for dissemination in communities. To promote the ideals of UNESCO International Convention and WADA Anti-Doping Code. And last, to make sure that coaches, doping control officers, PE teachers, teachers generally, sports and national associations personnel in this national seminar continue to educate athletes, students, youth, using the knowledge and training gained to sustain the project for many years to come.
Various aspects of the seminar will be conducted from officials of the umbrella organization, the World Anti-Doping Agency, which is also known as WADA, as well as RADO. WADA, formed in 1999, was instituted to bring awareness on the fight against doping in sport. Adrian Lord, representative of the WADA, defines doping according to the code of the agency.
Doping is not just what you may think of as the presence of a substance in an athlete's urine. Actually, the definition of doping goes further than that. It is the definition of a substance, a prohibited substance, or the use of a method that is prohibited in the athlete's bodily specimen. So we used to look at the urine only, but any part of the body, any bodily specimen, in which we find some substance that is not supposed to be there, that is considered by WADA in that bodily specimen, be it the blood, the skin, the hair follicles, sweat, whatever, is doping.
According to Lord, doping also involves use of any prohibited substance, refusal to submit to doping controls, attempt to tamper with the system of detection, possession of prohibited substances, and trafficking or attempt to traffic. A campaign on the awareness of doping began in Dominica in June of this year, with billboards being erected in Roseau and Pont-Cassé. The local organization hopes to take this awareness to primary and secondary schools across the island. This project is funded by UNESCO. In other news, Parliamentary Representative for the Maho constituency, Honourable Rayburn Blackmore, continues to take action to improve the lives of his constituents. GIS News accompanied the Maho MP to the community of Campbell last week, where work is ongoing on improvements to the village road. We witnessed work in progress on the construction of a retaining wall. The contractor told GIS News that the over $180,000 project is expected to be completed within the next 3 weeks. 5 residents of the community are employed full-time on this project, which began early in August. Honorable Blackmore explained the importance of this project to the residents.
During the passage of Ophelia, that Campbell was one of the most hard-hit areas in the country. And we gave the people of Campbell the assurance that the government will do everything possible to ensure we put in place the proper mitigating factors by way of retaining walls and by way of the construction of box culverts and proper drains. So we have been able to engage GIS to undertake that major intervention down in the Wimblow area, where we have built a retaining wall and also a box culvert and improvement to the road itself. And what we are now doing in the village, where of course we had also some serious undermining of the road, and of course where we are standing there right now, you can still see the effects of the river, where a significant portion of the road was undermined by the river. So what we are doing now is constructing a retaining wall, and that work in itself, that aspect of the project is being executed by a contractor from Campbell itself.
GIS News will also bring you details of road rehabilitation and drainage work ongoing in the community of Campbell in a subsequent newscast. Approximately 30 years after publishing his first pamphlet on the history of Cabrits, historian Dr. Lennox Honeychurch has released an expanded publication of over 100 pages on the town of Portsmouth and its vicinity. According to Dr. Honeychurch, his new book, Dominica's Cabrits and Prince Rupert's Bay, aims to document the history of these now increasingly popular areas and the surrounding town of Portsmouth.
Well, the Cabrits and Fort Shirley, the Cabrits National Park, and the whole bay of Prince Rupert's Bay and Portsmouth are really, after many years of kind of being in the background, are coming into the foreground both economically, socially, and in tourism and stuff like that. And there are an increasing number of visitors, both local in terms of school children and others, and of course visitors to Dominica, who are coming to Fort Shirley and the Cabrits National Park. So increasingly there is a need for information about the history and the background to this important part of Dominica.
The historian informed that while the book is focused generally on the town and the Cabrits, the main parts of the story center around Prince Rupert's Bay and the important vessels and captains which dropped anchor there. Apart from that, the book covers a wide range of other aspects of the vicinity's history, from its geography to its occupation by different ethnic groups.
It basically carries the story from the geological formation of the area of Portsmouth and Cabrits, and then moves on to the indigenous people, and then to the arrival of many adventurers who used the bay, very famous people. And I explain why this bay was so important. And then I go on to explain about it being made by the British, the capital of Dominica in 1765. But the fact was that because of disease, yellow fever and malaria, harbored in the mosquitoes that were living in the swamp, they shifted the capital to Roseau, which was an inferior place. It didn't have a nice harbor, it had cliffs all around it, but it was more healthy. And I tell that story and the fact that they had to maintain this important garrison, one of the most strongest garrisons in the Eastern Caribbean.
Dr. Honeychurch says that the book also includes present-day information in that of the effects the establishment of Ross University School of Medicine has had on the economy and social life of the Portsmouth area. Since his first publication in 1983, which also marks the beginning of the restoration of the Fort Shirley garrison, Dr. Honeychurch admits that he has uncovered a wealth of new material to include in this edition of his book. A lot of this information, he explained, sheds light on the lives of the African inhabitants of the area.
I suppose a lot of the information related to particularly to the life of the enslaved people, we were able to discover how they lived. And the thing too is there was a very important historical moment when a regiment of African soldiers revolted at the Cabrits. And what I found, one of the most interesting pieces of information, is that 60 of the men who were killed in that revolt, they say were buried all together in one hole. Now we have not found the hole, but somewhere around the Cabrits is this mass grave, which would be very interesting to find.
Dominica's Cabrits in Prince Rupert's Bay contains many photographs showing the before and after of the fort's buildings since its restoration began. Some of these buildings have been converted from their original forms to accommodate many different functions for which the Cabrits has become very popular.
It has become very popular for wedding destinations, for events like dinners and conferences and stuff. And we are currently in the process of finishing the hostel. The troops barracks, where the soldiers stayed, has been converted into a hostel so that community groups, groups from overseas, academic groups internationally can come and stay there. And we can help them generate income instead of always going and asking for aid and assistance. It can become self-supporting. So it has been a great success story. And the government of Dominica over the last 10 years has been very supportive of the process and of the project. And so we have been able to get money to do these things. We are also renting the building so that money now goes back to the state as well.
This transformation of the Cabrits allows the site to generate income for sustained maintenance. According to Dr. Honeychurch, the Cabrits can be seen as a success story of transforming old ruins into profitable attractions. The historian says that although this phase of the project is complete, there is still more work to be done. However, he believes that this research can serve as a good pivot point for other Dominican history projects.
It is a good base to do many other things. For instance, the archaeology of Dominica, discovering what Dominica was like before Christopher Columbus came. That's another aspect of the work that I would like to achieve. And then, of course, the continued writing of history and documentation, so that at least when I am gone, there will be the information in published form so that future generations can benefit from that.
In keeping with the slogan, tourism is everybody's business, Dr. Honeychurch says the information his book provides will make Dominicans more competent in enlightening tourists about the area. The historian also believes his book will enhance the education system among students. Dominica's Cabrits in Prince Rupert's Bay is available at Jay's Bookstore in Roseau and the Cabrits National Park Visitor Center at Portsmouth for the price of $40 EC. And finally, Leslasa Armour Shillingford, who will represent Dominica in the upcoming Miss World pageant in Indonesia on September 28, left the island on Monday. The Discover Dominica Authority is pleased to announce receipt of financial contributions from the Dominica National Petroleum Limited and the Aid Bank in support of Dominica's participation in the Miss World pageant. According to Mr. Julius Corbett, General Manager of the Aid Bank believes that Miss Dominica's participation at the Miss World pageant will have tremendous promotional benefits to the bank and Dominica. As such, it should be proud to support her endeavors, which will result in the further development of the island. The Discover Dominica Authority expressed gratitude to these companies for their financial support in aiding Dominica to take advantage of this opportunity. The DDA informed well-wishers who would like to contribute that they can do so through an account set up at the National Bank of Dominica in support of the Dominican Queen. Contributions can be deposited in NBD account name DDA DFC Miss World, account number 615-000-363. And that's the English segment of the news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Krail highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non moins, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, comité qui a une responsabilité pour le programme AntiDoping en affaires sport, qui mène commission à en l'école pays là. Parole ça là sorti chef comité olympique Dominique Félix Wilson, quand il y a un séminaire qui concerne ça l'année.
Nous pouvons visiter l'école. Nous joignons ces jeunes là en primary, à l'école primaire et l'école secondaire. Et bio en première anti-pencil avec ces mots-là écrits à l'œil. C'est no to doping. Hein? So, ça c'est un message qui est toujours rencontré. Et pour les élèves en l'école secondaire, ils ont en peine, en stylo, ça qui marque même bagaille là. Moi, ça, vitement, c'est UNESCO qui donne 20 000 dollars US pour faire stage, salaire, pas même stage, nous avons différents bagages à faire. Nous avons pour gagner un t-shirt, nous qui fait advertisement avec ça. Aussi, nous avons billboards, go billboards, so nous avons toujours voir pour peut-être 2 mois, vous pouvez voir côté Hiddens, en Portsville, en Loubière, Pont-Cassé, tout le monde qui voit Luce et en Portsmouth aussi.
Alors, nouvel festival littéraire sans des artistes et puis créativité travail ailleurs. Parole ça là sur des normes créatives, Dr. Alvin Bouling.
Toute qualité art qui a commencé et puis mon cas écrit quelque chose. Même si chaque fois un artiste qui a peinturé en portrait, il est pour calculer comment il a fait. Comme ça, si pas une créativité, ça qui est créativité à design, il passe à trouver idée pour peindre ses peintures, pour faire ses portraits. Comme ça, premièrement, là où il a écrit, il a lu, il a encouragé à penser en manière qui est créative. Il a une idée, regarder une chose, regarder un bagage, voir toutes différentes qualités de bagage, regarder. C'est ça qu'on pour faire l'histoire, pour faire peinture, pour faire télévision, pour faire movies, n'importe différentes choses. Comme ça, il a stimulé la créativité, les écrits, puis il a lu. Et puis c'est ça que nous voulons encourager. Aussi, il y a un bagage là, on a dit, pour émanciper comme esclavage mental.
À la nouvelle, une station agricole bien moderne bâtie en 1 mile à Guantans. Facilité ça comment placer ça qui a existé en Hillsborough, qui était bien dommagé par mauvais déluge en l'année 2011. Facilité ça ni cette l'occasion ça a créé greenhouses et puis aussi place pour démonstration. Ministère agriculture, honorable Matthew Walter, était chef en délégation gouvernement qui visitait le projet la semaine passée. Honorable Walter fait parole qui est bien satisfait et puis facilité cela qui coûtait autant millions de dollars. Finalement, le département forêt a créé à ce public-là pour arrêter aller la chasse quoi pour payer là. Monsieur Marshall Sultan, c'est officier du département forêt Dominique.
Nous catapé that moun still ka chebe quoi pour la et ka manger ou yo ka ne chebe condition pet. Et nous voulons dire moun sap nous ni pour stop ça. Nous pas ni pour faire ça because il y a ban asi et quoi pour là même il ka souffert hard on dit yo ka qui mycosis et nous voulons un de quoi pour la vivre. So si moun ka hon nous voulons dire yo ni pour stop ça et yo ni pour comment que dit ani pas chebe quoi pour la faire quoi pour la vivre pas quoi because nous voulons sauver because farmers longtemps quoi pour la te ka ende yo ka manger l'autre slug et actuellement quand on dit let's see c'est difficile because il pas d'autres quoi pour aussi so ka dit quoi pour là now nous voulons tout le monde qui ka hunt ani stop hunting ani faire quoi pour la vivre pas quoi.
Messieurs mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle Krail pour à présent. Non moins c'est McPherson c'est Luce. Au revoir.
Coming up next, the tip of the day.
Do you have uncovered water storage drums around your home? Do you dispose of old tires, cans and old containers capable of holding water anywhere in your environment? Are you being bitten by mosquitoes, particularly at dusk, and early morning? Do you keep houseplants in water? Do you spend your hard-earned cash to control mosquitoes? Has your community experienced dengue fever outbreaks? If your answer is yes to at least 3 questions above, you are at risk to dengue fever. Join the fight against dengue fever. The responsibility for a dengue-free Dominica lies with you. So, get rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
Today's tip is about motivating yourself to get up and exercise. Getting and staying fit can be a challenge. For many of us, it's hard to just get up off the couch. So what's the secret of people who have managed to make exercise a way of life? They set realistic goals. So here's what you can do. Don't strive for perfection or an improbable goal that can't be met. Focus instead on increasing healthy behaviors. In other words, don't worry if you can't run a 5-mile stretch just yet. Make it a habit to walk 15 minutes a day and add time, distance, and intensify from there. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website at news.gov.dm. You can also friend us on our Facebook page and be sure to like our GIS Dominica fan page. Catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Krail Fontaine. Thank you for watching.